Hello, folks. This is Keith German with CCI Learning, bringing you another short tutorial. This video will focus specifically on our Jasperactive Digital Literacy application. And I'm excited to tell you that we now have the IC3 GS6 content available. I'm going to focus specifically on the student learning experience. This certainly will help the instructors in viewing this and thinking through how they're going to prepare their students to get ready to start using this application. But really, this should be shareable with the student learners so they can get kind of their feet wet, if you will, and before actually using it, and feel more comfortable when they begin the learning process and actually start having work graded. So let's get started. You will see here that I'm already logged in. So I make a few assumptions here in this video, and that is that the person already has a Jasperactive account. They already have access to a course, probably because the instructor shared with them a course activation code or a group key, as we call it often, and therefore they have already joined their group. And as you see here, I have a group available. And it tells me various informations here, and it tells me I'm the role learner, so you kind of see how this is working. This over here is the name of my school, or if I'm in workforce development, the name of my entity, university, whatever it may be. And then this is the name of my group. So I'm going to click this box here. This is how we'll get started. And you see here that I'm in my group and I have access to my courses. I could click the tab here to see what other members are involved in this course, but that's rarely used, but it is available if you want to see that information. We're going to focus on courses. And I should pause here long enough to just clarify one thing. I am launching today from our app, but many students might belong to an entity that purchased not just Jasperactive Digital Literacy, but also an integrated license that includes the G-Metrics practice exams. Those would be the folks that were purchasing through our partner Certiport. So if you're the latter, then your students will actually get into Jasperactive Digital Literacy from within G-Metrics. Okay? So those who do not have that license, then they will get into the digital literacy product from our app website. Okay, so you see here that I have 3 levels of learning modules, if you will. If you know anything about IC3 GS6 digital literacy format, this is consistent with that. It is a program designed to produce a stackable industry certifications. Okay, so as I go into each of these right here, they launch course content. Okay, we assume that most students will start with level 1, but you certainly could direct them otherwise. Okay, I'm going to click here for level 1 fundamental concepts, and I'm now launching to get into my coursework. Now, this is demo data, so I've already begun some things. Generally speaking, a student would have their level 1 benchmark, and they would not have anything completed here. They would begin here. And in fact, each of these lessons would have a lock icon on them right here. But this is also a status indicator that I have begun the work in these particular study projects. Each lesson has 2 study projects. You'll see that consistently throughout. And you'll also notice that each lesson has a label here. Each of these labels represent the learning domain within each certification level. So level 1 will have 7 domains, level 2 has 7 domains, and level 3 has 7 domains. And that's all determined by the IC3 folks. Another way to depict that is that I can access my study material separately. And you'll see here that I have ebooks as one study material, quick decks, or think flashcards for learning, study materials, and quick clips. This is really great for the visual learners who want video learning. And all of these learning elements are available to the student separately from their grading exercises. So we do try to make this not only a highly accessible product, but we try to produce this for those who have various accommodations or learning styles. You'll see that throughout. And then the student can access their gradebook. They don't have to wait on their teacher to give them a report or anything of that nature. They can anytime come in here and they can see clearly how they did on the benchmark. And then they can access each level study project and get gradable type information on here as well. And then as they scroll through, one thing I haven't mentioned is when they're done, so not only do they begin with a benchmark, but they finish with a summary assessment to try to determine if they truly are ready to take a certification exam. Okay, and if they do finish their summary assessment and they perform well or not well or whatever it is, they can always come down here and click view details, and they can see what they got right, what they got wrong, and maybe that'll help them in their remediation effort to do some restudy in particular areas. Okay, so I'm going to jump right into exercises here and show you what that looks like. So lesson 1, I'm just going to start with study project 1. I'm going to click that, and that launches my exercise. So as a student, I will begin here. Now, this particular exercise is broken into 6 case studies. These are using real world examples data. So really it's going to kind of help them kind of connect to the information and hopefully improve the learning process. We'll hit continue. And you'll see here that my study project introduction is here. We show you what your key elements are going to be covered here. And each of these key elements, by the way, to access the actual learning information, they are broken out into different tabs or modules. So you can just simply hit each of these to access that information. And then as you click these tabs, then your media library is refreshed. And not every tab, not every item has all 3 of these elements, but many do. So you'll see the ebook, the quick deck, and the quick clip. Now, if I go to one, okay, like here, I go to one, and this one apparently does not have quick clips. So you kind of see how that works. And so you'll get a feel for that as a student as you move along. Also, if you're a student and you're looking at this and you get like, oh my gosh, you mean I have to read all this? That's a lot of reading. Well, I have great news for you. In addition to the introduction section, but even within the learning content, you will see an icon here. We have done something great, and that is partner with Microsoft to integrate the immersive reader application that they built. All this means is if you prefer, you can click this icon and you can have the system read all of this content to you. So if I click play here.
Accessing information. Objective 1.1.3.
Okay, and you see how that works. Really nice tool, great for accessibility and various learning styles. Now, I have another good piece of information. Microsoft Immersive Reader, I mean, you can understand Microsoft has great resources. So they've provided a lot of functionality here, but if you click the book icon, you can actually go in here and change the language. If your native language is not English or you prefer to learn in another language, you can actually come in here and change the language and have it match what you're comfortable with, okay? So I may come down here and scroll down, and I may find, you know what, I would prefer to have all this read to me in Spanish. And there's various options here. I'm going to choose Spanish Mexico. I'm going to tell it to apply that to the document, the entire document. And then when I click play,
Acceso a la información. Objetivo 1.1.3. Antes de que pueda hacer algo en...
And you get a feel for that. Okay, again, this is just a quick tutorial and an introduction to some of the capabilities that you have. Now, once you, as a student, have gone through this information and each of these elements, and you've learned as best you can, you've consumed a lot of information, you've retained it as best you can, you are now ready to begin your case study project exercises for a grade. And to do that, you just simply scroll to the bottom and click continue, and you are now going to be asked some series of questions. You have to then answer those and hope you get them right. Like in this particular case, the first item here is talking about mobile operating systems. Okay, and I'm going to answer, and it does say select all that reply. So apparently not just one answer, but I can actually select all if I want to. But I'm going to say, you know what, mobile operating systems, I think that involves a laptop and a desktop. Okay, and I'm going to click check answer. Now, most of you probably know that I did not choose the correct answers. Okay, and this is what it looks like. I just wanted you to see that at any point in time throughout the learning process, you have access to your media library. You can just jump right back to it, or you can just go back to show project and access it there. But you always have access for remediation purposes. You may get into this and you may get 7 or 8 or 9 questions into it, and you're like, I'm not as ready as I thought I was. And you have that capability. Now, when you're ready, you can hit try again, and you can come in here and check different answers. So in this case, I'm going to hit smartphone and tablet. Now, I will tell you that if you get it wrong a second time, we will let you know that, but then we will actually give you what the correct answers should have been and provide an explanation for learning purposes. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to click check answer. And this is what it looks like when you've got it correct. And then you can just hit continue and move forward. Okay. If at any point in time you run out of time or you have to break and you got to go do something else and you need to come back, you can always just hit save progress. We will lock it in where you are. You can exit, come back, and you're assured that you will start where you left off last. Okay, that's the basic components, honestly, of the learning process of how a student might navigate to the learning material, where that material is, and how to access it, and how to work through the learning process. So just to reiterate, here's where your exercises are. If you choose to, you can access your study materials separately and apart from the exercises and in various forms, and you have access to your grade book. Okay, so hopefully this will help someone. The one thing that I will point out to you, that if you need any help at all, I'm just going to go to our support page here, is if there happens to be an instructor that's watching this and they're wondering how to get started, on our support page, getting started, click the Jasperactive Digital Literacy link, and here is your quick start guide for you learners. And here's the quick start guide for the instructors. But also, if you encounter an issue, if you feel that there's something wrong with an exercise, whatever it may be, you can always come in here and submit a ticket. So folks, I hope this was helpful to you. I wish you success in your learning.